Hey, this is Mr. Sorensen, and today what I want to show you is how you're going to use your miter box and the miter saw. So in your kit, you have these two tools. These simulate professional grade tools that we would have out here. I showed you in our tool of the day, the miter box and the back saw. This is just a small version of that. On your miter box, you have a 24-degree angle, a 90-degree or right angle, which is going to cut perpendicular to the fences, and you got a 45-degree angle. The 45-degree angle, remember, is for another project. You're not going to use that on your house. You want the 90-degree angle for the most part, and then on a couple of occasions, you're going to use this 24-degree angle to make your cuts. When you use this, you need to put it up against the edge of a very square tabletop. If your tabletop is really round, that's not going to work all that good. So you want a square tabletop. I'm going to just put mine right on this bench. They're meant to be beaten up. But at your house, the table you work on, you may not want to scratch the tabletop. So I'm going to really recommend that you use a piece of cardboard, the cardboard I gave you in the first kit, to do this. And I will set it on there like that, and then I'm going to make my cut. Now, the saw, if you look at the saw blade, you can see that the teeth point forward. All the teeth are pointed this way. They slant forward towards the tip of the saw blade. That makes this a push saw. This saw cuts as you push forward. That means when I go to cut a piece of material in my saw, I should line I should put the piece of wood up against the fence that is farthest away from me. And I'm going to pinch the board there, and then as I cut, I push forward. That's where the cutting's happening. Pulling back, I'm just getting reloaded so I can push forward and cut again. And it works pretty easy, right? Try it again. Get it all set. I'm going to pinch the piece of wood over towards the fence that is the furthest away from me. Put my saw in here and then just very gently start cutting, and it goes pretty slick, right? I don't have to force it. I don't have to work hard. Now, you might find when you do that you feel the board wanting to come back. So what you would do is, again, you would look at the teeth on your saw. Now, here's what happened, honestly. What happens is that probably the first 5 or 6 saws that I made, I forgot to check which direction I was putting the teeth. So there's a handful of saws out there that the teeth are pointed back. That's a pull saw. So if yours happens to be a pull saw, then you want to put the piece of wood on the side, on the fence that's closest to you. And then as you cut, you're going to cut as you pull backwards, right? But when I try to do that, I can see that the piece of wood is moving back and forth. That's because the teeth are pointed forward and it wants to take the piece of wood with it. So I need to move my piece of wood to the other side of the fence. And then when I do it correctly, the cutting goes very slick and very smooth. Again, I'm not trying to do this with muscle and might. I want to be careful with the saw, but the saw is pretty safe, right? So the nice thing about the saw is that it's far less likely to cut you than the saws that we would be using in our class. But you still want to be careful with it when you use it. When I go to cut the angle for my ridge rafters, now I'm going to slide it down and I'm going to put the saw in the 24-degree angle slots, and works the same way. Pinch it against the fence that's the furthest away from me, gently slide it back and forth. Remember, I'm cutting as I push, and very gently that little piece comes off. So this works really well. It cuts as long as you use the miter box and the saw correctly. Let's see if we can take a different angle look at it. slide that over, take my saw, and notice if it's a push saw, if the saw teeth are moving in that direction or they point that direction, then I want to have the piece of wood pinched against the fence that's furthest away from me. If it was a pull saw, I'm going to pinch it against the fence closest to me. This is a push saw, so I'm simply going to go like that, and very gently I'm going to get started. Once I get it going, very little effort, and that piece breaks free. Okay? You may want to practice that once or twice before you try cutting your actual material that's going to go into your project. Okay, so that's the process of using the saw and what that should look like. Again, you want to have your glasses on when you use the saw. Lots of little pieces, and lots of little pieces. There's no telling how this is going to end up hitting you in the eye, and you're going to be glad that those glasses are on. Besides that, right, there's loads and loads of sawdust that comes out of there. You don't want that in your eye. And really, as you work a lot with the glue, you don't want that in your eyes either. So as you work with all these tools, it's really important that you keep your safety glasses on. That's why we gave them to you, so you'll be safe. And I hope you enjoy getting to work with all of this equipment to make this really cool project, this little model house. Don't hesitate to email me or join the afternoon office Zoom if you have any questions about what you're doing.